This is devlog 15 for Above the Fold, the newspaper simulation game that I am currently working on. And it's been so long since the last update, or so much has happened, that I'm just going to start a new game, as I already have, and sort of just talk you through what you're seeing. This is the welcome screen, the office as it's also called. On day one, it doesn't have all the buttons. There's more buttons will spawn down here in the left corner. It does have a welcome text, sort of just to bring you into the game. This, of course, will all change by the time the game is finished, but we're still in pre-alpha. You can also get a glimpse of the other data that you're seeing here. You have the subscriber data. You started the game out with 2,500 subscribers. They are, in this case, 71% liberal, 29% conservative. That is a random value at the beginning of each game. And as the same goes for your age spread. It's not entirely random. There is sort of a logic to it. But yeah, you start out with some somewhat randomized values. The cash you start out with is 30,000. That is not random. The same goes for your office expenses and everything else. All that stuff is just a predetermined value. Finally, we have advertisements here. $2.75 is the going rate for each inch of advertisement columns that you sell. Once you start accruing advertisements, you'll see them here, where it says ending in the next 5 days. All right, so our newspaper is called The Daily Focus. It is 4/20/1994. We're ready to start. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hire some reporters. As you can see, we don't have any. I'm going to go for reporters that have at least 2 interests, or likes. In this case, politics and offbeat. This is a politics story, so I'm just going to assign that right away. You can see that this is the mood of the reporter. Checkmark indicates that the person has a story assigned, and the fact that it's green indicates that it's a story that they like to work on. So this guy likes to write fashion and sports, Nick Aziz, and Luke Anderson here, he likes to write arts and culture. So I'm going to see if I can find some articles here. You see these bouncing, when there's a red dot blinking, means it's going to despawn soon. So this is a local news story, and all local news stories will have a little camera icon. This is a business story, and I can cycle through my reporter. See, did I have anybody that likes business? I don't, but I can still assign it to my reporter. So I'll just do that just to get something going. In the top left corner, you can see how much time is left, and you have to assign. Oh, there's an advertisement. Oh. You gotta pick up advertisements quickly because they will despawn. Sorry, I was saying, if time runs out and your reporter doesn't have a story, they will become upset because you're just wasting their time. Here you can see I opened up an ad from Voorhees Blade Sharpening. They want to schedule 20 days worth of 15 inches advertisement. So 20 days after I accept this, I'll get 15 times that advertisement rate paid out. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to assign just this. This is a sports story. And you can see he got a gray check mark. Here you can see the current word count. Some stories take more than 1 day to write. And if that's the case, the word count, including that story, will be the one in the parentheses. So I have assigned stories to all of my current reporters. Cycling through them, as you can see. You can actually see the headline and the star rating of the stories that are assigned at the bottom as well. Of course, more stars is better. Once I feel like, oh, there's another reporter here. I'm just going to hire her very quickly. Science and climate. Let's see if we can find either or. Towards the end of the day, there'll be less stories. Here's a science story. We'll grab that one real quick. Boink. There we go. We got the green check mark. And if you assign green check mark stories, the mood of your reporter will slowly increase. At the bottom, you see various tips and non-important bits of information. So it's more like flavor than sort of critical updates. So you don't have to really pay attention to this, but you can. All right, time expired. So now we're on the editor's desk. Here we put the newspaper front page together. And the default sorting here is simply a base score based on a base score of each story. So if you're just going for score, you just want to transfer the stories as is. However, on the right hand side, you can see there is age groups and political orientation, and depending on how you organize your stories, that can change. So if you're aiming for a specific political bias or want to appeal to a certain age group, you might want to rearrange this a little bit. Alright, we're ready to go, so I'm just going to print now. And that takes us back to the office screen where we're now in the actual main game loop. So instead of that welcome screen, we have now an issue summary that summarizes how well did we do in our last issue, in this case, the first one. Each issue will have its own importance score. So that's sort of just an indication of how well you did overall, and it's based on a combination of the various stories, individual scores, the happiness of the reporters that wrote them, and the amount of content that is original. So how much of your maximum word count did you use? So in this case, we used only 35% of our maximum word count. We also can see we got one angry letter. The angry letters are not entirely random. It depends on how close your political slant is. In this case, we are 53% liberal and 47% conservative in this issue. That is compared to your subscriber data and how that is spread out. And the bigger the difference is, the more angry letters you are likely to get. So in this case, we actually only got one, and that's fairly lucky given that there's a somewhat of a large spread between those numbers. The reason it's lucky is because, as you can see here under Career Summary, which is the other new panel, there's a spot here called Angry Letters, and it currently says 1 of 1,000. If you reach 1,000 angry letters, the game will end. So you'll also see that we have a game score here, which is slightly different from the issue score. The game score is based on that, but it also has other bonuses that will tie into sort of like events in the game, advertisers, and so forth. Upgrades is not yet done, so we won't spend any time on that, but this is where you'll buy upgrades for your newspaper. Managing reporters, however, is where you can go and look at your reporters and see what is going on with your current staff. So by clicking on the name here, before even clicking on it, you can actually see their skill, their level, salaries, how many raises you've given them, their current mood, their political orientation, and what they like to write about. You can give your reporters 5% raise at a time. Doing so will increase their mood, and of course also the cost of having them around. Brett here has one top story. At a certain time, if they reach a certain number of top stories and you haven't given them a raise, it will start affecting their mood, and you'll start seeing that number go down there. And of course, as I mentioned before, if you assign stories that match the interest of a reporter, they get a bonus when they write them. Some reporters also have a disinterest, which is not listed here. If you assign a story that they don't like writing about, they'll get a penalty. After you've assigned a story to that reporter, you can see a little exclamation point instead of the check mark. That means that they don't like writing about it. Finally, you can fire reporters from here if you don't want to keep them around. You can also just kind of go through them, and each one will have a little quote that sort of reflects how they're currently feeling about their job and what they're doing. You can also see a little bit more about each one. All right, we go back to the office here, and we're ready to start the next day. There's some science here. 1,300 words, 2 stars. I'll take it. There's another one that just popped in. It's a little bit longer, so 1,400 words, but only 1 star. I'll keep the one I already have and grab this ad here from Pablo's Perfect Pizza. I'll go to the next reporter who likes fashion and sports. So fashion is a little white handbag and sports is a steering wheel. 2,500 words. That's good. I want to get it as close to 25,000 as I can. Here's actually another reporter. He only likes science. He doesn't dislike anything, so I'll take him. Oh, this one. This is a big one. So the little green flag indicates that there's an extra bonus attached to this one, and that bonus affects the reputation of your newspaper. This one takes 2 days to write, so it wouldn't count for today's deadline. Here's an ad from Leo's Guitar Repair. I'll take it. Here's another reporter. Oh, I've reached my maximum. 5 out of 5 reporters, and I'm afraid I can't hire this one. And of course, as the game progresses, you'll be able to hire more reporters, and this will get more stressful. We're just going to go with the default sorting. See what we end up with. And what we get is a balanced issue that primarily will go for adults young adults, middle-aged. Sounds good. And here we have a random event. It seems that old Mrs. Harriet passed away and we inherited some of her fortune. Now, exactly how much you'll inherit is actually, again, pseudo-randomized. So you'll have different results if you play the game multiple times. Depending on how you assign your stories, what stories you assign, and paying attention to those flags I mentioned, your credibility as a newspaper will change. So somewhat distrusted is not a bad score. You'll actually have a balanced score of 0. So you're not really trusted, you're not really not trusted, you're just kind of there. Your reputation is more of a sensationalist tabloid, which is not as bad as it sounds. Basically, you're just looking for that story that'll catch attention. That's all for now. Thank you for watching and following along with the development of Above the Fold. I highly encourage you to sign up for the mailing list if you want to be considered for future playtests or just want to stay informed of like major news, because I only send out emails when there's something really big to report. Go to abovethefoldgame.com and use the sign up form in the sidebar there, and you will get the news delivered. And of course, you can subscribe to this channel and all that good stuff. Give it a thumbs up, tell your friends. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully you'll enjoy playing Above the Fold at some point in the not too distant future. Future.